Hello, I'm JC. I'll be reading The Higher Purpose today. Higher purpose. Your misery is your ministry. Your pain is your purpose. Your suffering is your service. Your mess becomes your message. Your test becomes your testimony. God allows us to hurt to heal others because you cannot heal what you cannot feel. So don't let the pain of your past punish your present and paralyze your progress and purpose. And for this, it's for me because I've been dealing with a lot of family personal issues. Within the last week and a half, I've experienced 4 deaths on my father's side, 1 with an uncle and 2 with cousin and 1 with a really close family friend, which is like a cousin to me. They've been friends for 18 years. And it's just like that misery and coming back to work, I did not allow that to come into the workspace. I just was able to just take what my grandmother told me to don't always look like what you're going through. So that higher purpose just touched my heart, and I just knew I wanted to read it to you guys so I can share a little bit of my story and what I'm going through with you guys today. And I would like to hand it off to Bree.
Thank you, JC. Thank you for sharing that. Hello, everyone. I'm Bree Johnson. I am the Director of Operations here with Turnaround Tuesday, and I will be sharing some updates. And many of you know that we are a very mission-driven movement. So our mission is to prepare returning unemployed and underemployed citizens to return to the workforce and take an active role in transforming their communities. So in line with workforce, we are up and operating. We actually never slowed down. In fact, we have a full staff of 12 now. I'm so excited to know we have a full staff of 12, and we have a huge goal in getting people employed and enjoying the work that they're doing. So in line with that, we currently have 106 people employed currently, and 65, I believe, during this COVID period. But we still have a huge goal of getting people placed in opportunities. So please engage with us and take advantage of some of those opportunities. And in line with transforming our communities, many of you know that we started a women's movement a year ago in August. I am pleased to announce that the men decided to join the party. And in all seriousness, the men of Turnaround Tuesday will be having their first meeting today at 6:30, led by our co-director, Terrell Williams. So if anyone is interested in being a part of the women's movement, a part of the men's movement, a part of any of our services that we have here at Turnaround Tuesday, please check out our website at www.turnaroundtuesday.org. And speaking of the leader of the men's movement, he is going to share with us the spiritual vitamin. Terrell.
Thank you so much, Bree. And you're absolutely correct. We will have our first meeting tonight. I am so excited. Today, our spiritual vitamin is around education. And this men's movement is really about education. It's less about bringing people together to talk and discuss. It's more about really helping us to understand us better, men to understand men better, and then find out what does this moment call on us to do. We are not prescriptive, so we're not going to come and say we're going to do this, 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 and this. The first thing we're going to do is for us to find out what does it mean to be male, and that is an educated process. And so today, our spiritual vitamin is around the thing that, as my grandmother would say, if you want to know anything, the first thing you must do is become educated around the issues of that thing that you want to know. And so I asked Cheryl, and I want to thank Cheryl so much for sending this quote to me. She sent quite a few, as Cheryl would do. But this one really, really spoke to me. This one from Kofi Annan. And it basically says, education is a human right with immense power to transform. On its foundation rest the cornerstones of freedom, democracy, and sustainable human development. Just think about that for a minute. And I believe, and thinking about Secretary Annan, I believe he is not talking about the academic process. It's really about learning about people, being educated about people. And the reason why I say that, I mean, you have to know a little bit about Secretary Annan. The first thing you got to know is that he was from Ghana. He's Ghanaian. And he saw a lot of tension. He saw a lot of strife. He saw a lot of stress. And that really, really troubled him to the point that he got a very, very sound education. He got an education that many Ghanaians were not afforded. And he used that education not to make a whole lot of money right off the bat, but to go in and work with the World Health Organization and also the UN Commission on Refugees. He was really concerned about the suffrage of people. As a matter of fact, he said something like, suffering anywhere is suffering everywhere. He became our 7th Secretary General of the UN. And he won a Nobel Peace Prize. As a matter of fact, he was the first to share a Nobel Peace Prize with an institution that he was running called the United Nations. And just think about why they chose him and the institution at that time. It said, one, we chose him and the institution because he had reorganized the UN and made the world a more peaceful place. They said also, he created a greater priority, not around civil rights, but around human rights, the basic fundamentals of what it meant to be human. They also said that they chose him and the institution because of his commitment to eradicate or to contain the HIV virus on the African continent. And last but certainly not least, his incredible work when we were going, we know what happened in 2001 and this whole fight around international terrorism. And he was a main person to help people understand that we could not say that the Islamic religion was wrong, but the actual people who did the wrong thing and making sure that a whole a group of people wasn't plastered as terrorists, but the people who did what they did was to be held responsible. So I was so glad that Cheryl sent me that because it reminded me and it helped me understand that in our work, in our mission at Turnaround Tuesday, it does not say that we are here to give people a job. We're saying we're here to help people find a job and go back to their communities, to re-educate their communities, to transform their communities. So with that in mind, we have 2 great guests here. Mr. Devin James, who was with us before, who's an incredible educator. Not only is he educating our kids, he's also educating our teachers who are educating our kids. And then also from the Maryland Legal Aid, we have Koala Kimmy, who has worked with Turnaround Tuesday. I think he told us he's celebrating a year with Turnaround Tuesday, where he worked with us to work on expungement and around housing issues and other issues that affect people every single day. So without further ado, I would love for Mr. James to come and kind of talk to us about educating the 21st century kid and the importance of parents in that process.
Thank you, Terrell. Thank you, Bree, JC. It's amazing to be with you guys again. Again, my name is Devin James. I do proudly serve as an educator at Center City Public Charter Schools in Washington, D.C. I have been an educator for about 5 years now. I started my career in Baltimore City public schools and had amazing experiences there. So I want to kind of lend our thoughts to a few things about where I think kind of education is right now and where I think the focuses of education should be. So today, I'm not necessarily going to focus really on the curriculum, although curriculum matters. I want to kind of lean a different route. So I want us to be able to kind of define achievement and define success. And the reason why I want to start off there is because success looks different, feels different, and it sounds different in our current space, right? Virtual learning is very different. And so because we are in a different space, that means that our definitions of how we define things, of how we define the stellar child, how we define the excelling learner, all of that has to be reworded and it has to be re-acknowledged. So I think right now we're looking at success and we're looking at achievement as any student or any parent or any community leader who's willing to embrace something new and who's willing to really push behind newness. I've learned and I'm even experiencing that embracing something new is a challenge, right? Nobody really likes change. However, I'm learning that change is inevitable. And of course, because of the current pandemic and because of all of the things that we're experiencing, we're going through a lot of changes, and change always affects so many people. And more importantly, change affects our students, it's affecting our children, it's affecting our communities. And so thinking about that, what change is doing, and what I'm seeing in the classroom is that we're seeing different traits of leadership in our students that we haven't seen before, right? So I'll give you examples. I'm seeing traits of students who are persevering. I'm seeing traits of students who are in touch with their feelings. I had conversations today where students and teachers, they use words like, I'm overwhelmed, but I'm willing to get through it. And I think that those kind of centered and emotional moments are very important for students, and they're very important for teachers, because it pushes us further than just, what does the curriculum say, but to how do I feel about what I'm going through. And I think that kind of pushes the idea and it pushes the agenda of what real education is. It's not just getting to it's not just getting to like the sponge and the information that I can internalize, but how then can I take all of the information and then apply it? So that application of, I'll use the word social and emotional wellness, or social and emotional learning, it's really, really, really important. And so when we think about education and when we think about what education looks like, we cannot discount the fact that my mental wellness and my psychological being is extremely important right now. It's also important for us to consider how our students are being educated, right? It's very difficult to educate certain students. You have different modalities of learning. So you have the kinesthetic learner, that student that enjoys or needs to get up or needs to move around. And unfortunately, there aren't many ways that we can reach that learner. So we have to infuse things like stretch breaks. And so I'll model a stretch break of how we'll deal with a kinesthetic learner. So if everybody could raise their hands with me. And so I would say, raise your hands and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, Uncle John. And then we're bringing it down and bringing it down, bringing it down. And one more time. And we're raising hands and we're stretching and we're stretching and we're stretching and we're reaching. Let it feel good. And bring it down. Those are different ways. Thank you for participating in that. And then I see Michelle who's going like this, right? So these are all just really great ways to connect with our learners, connecting with that kinesthetic learner, but then also connecting to that auditory learner, right? Being able to listen and articulate information just in very diverse ways. We also have those visual learners, like those learners who need visual aids, those learners who need images and pictures, and just identifying, notices. What do you notice? What do you see? What do you think about situations? And so all of that is really, really, really important. And that just encapsulates that idea of social and emotional wellness and learning through the curriculum. I also want to point out with education, family engagement. So that's a big one, a really big one. So parents right now are often asking, what can I do as a parent? How do I excel as a parent with my child? You have a lot of children who some kids really, they haven't been in the house this long. And so what do we do? And so I want to kind of echo some sentiments that I shared a few months ago while we were together, is that as parents and as mentors or as uncles or aunts, if you have children around you and they're looking for advice, I always admonish us to stay patient with our children right now, right? I think it's really important to stay patient. I think it's important for everyone to embrace and normalize change, right? And normalize that all of us are in this different space and we're in this different moment together. And it's that aspect of togetherness and like that synergistic energy that will kind of galvanize our success. So patience, right? Making sure that we stay patient. Also, proximity is really important right now for our children, right? Making sure that our students know that you are there, both physically and mentally, right? That you are a safe space for our children. And I think that's super important, making sure that our young people know that the adults around them, they care. And again, that goes beyond just our curriculum, but our students and our children, they need, like, a lot of them are using words like I'm overwhelmed or I'm perplexed, because there's this ambiguity of, are we going to school? Are we staying virtual? How can we enact physical distancing? How are we going to do social distancing? Do I have to wear a mask in school? Do I not have to wear a mask? We have all of these unanswered questions. And so you need that element. Our students need something of stability, right? And so our adults, we need to be that center for our children, right? So just making sure that we're stable, that we're healthy, which then lends itself to this thought, that healthy children need healthy adults around them, right? Healthy children need healthy adults around them. When I use the term healthy, I'm talking about holistic health, right? Making sure that your overall, your entire body, your mind, your soul, your spirit is healthy. And all of that is really important because we ask the question, how does this relate to education? All of it relates to education because the center is social and emotional wellness. Before I can present my curriculum, before I can present to you the necessity of understanding informational text, I'm an English teacher, of understanding informational text and literature and main ideas and key details, I need to know that you're centered and that you're able to digest the information that I want to disseminate and share. So we have family engagement, and then we also have the ideas of just community relationships. Pull on each other, right? When we're in meetings, one of the greatest things that I'm experiencing now with administration is that they're asking questions more now about how are you feeling, right? What are your thoughts? How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling spiritually? And so I think to understand education, which simply means dismantling ignorance, right? If we're going to dismantle ignorance, that means that we have to be able to be emotionally sound and emotionally secure. So that's my take. Be patient with our children. Proximity control, just make sure that you're there and that we're a safe place. Thank you so much, and I will pass it off.
Not yet, I have a question.
You have a question, I'm ready for it.
I heard you talk about holistic health.
Yes, sir.
It's not one dimensional. In these times where parents are now sort of teachers with their kids virtually, I remember the last time you said something about routines. What are the 4 things that parents could do when they do feel overwhelmed? What are some of the things that they can do?
Yeah, the first thing is to acknowledge it, right? If a parent is overwhelmed, acknowledge your authentic feeling, right? There is no form of breakthrough or anything without acknowledging where I am. And then after I've acknowledged that I'm overwhelmed, then what I need to do is set a plan. I'm a very like low stress type person. And so I notice that I kind of get off kilter if I don't have a plan in place for myself, right? So even if it's something simple like, every day you wake up, make sure that I check my Google Calendar. every day. I'm setting a plan and I'm sticking to it. I also think it's really important right now to have accountability partners, to have individuals in your circle. That goes to that idea of community relationships. Have accountability partners and somebody that you're able to share your thoughts, share your experience, share your expressions with. And then lastly, of course, we identified too, setting a plan. You have to have an execution strategy. So how am I going to execute what I want? So I acknowledge that I'm overwhelmed, right? Then I set a plan. In my plan, I'm including an accountability partner. I have a safe space. And then after that, I'm executing, right? Day by day. So that will be my quick tidbit of advice.
Thank you. I like the way you said day by day. You're not planning a week in advance, a month in advance. You're making it short term where, you're making this plan that every day I'm gonna get up and do these things.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Again, my name is Kawala Kame. I'm one of the attorneys from Maryland Legal Aid. Thanks for having me, Tara, and the rest of you guys. I'm just going to speak a little quickly about know your rights during COVID, so you have a basic idea of some of the key aspects of the law that might be affecting you. Just a little bit about us. Maryland Legal Aid helps with many civil legal issues, including divorce, custody, visitation, bankruptcy, unemployment, public benefits, among others. We also help with estate planning, including simple wills and advanced medical directives. It's important to note that the information I'm providing is current as of September 17th. The laws and regulations are constantly changing, especially in this period. So if you have any specific questions about anything that I say today, please reach out to us at Maryland Legal Aid. My phone number is 410-951-7762. Again, the number is 410-951-7762. So with that being said, I'll just go quickly. One of the updates that I have is that the court system is in what's considered phase 5 of the reopening plan. What that means for you is that all criminal and civil matters, including failure to pay rent, tenant holding over, and other housing cases, are now being heard. So the only cases that aren't being heard are cases that involve jury trials, but everything else are now being heard at the courts. You want to contact your individual court, so that means either the district or circuit court in your county, in which whatever charge is in, to get more up-to-date information. You can also contact us as well. For family law, court orders still apply for custody and visitation. Child support is still due. If you're having difficulty making payments due to loss of income, file for modification both with the court and the Bureau of Child Support Enforcement immediately. For renters, evictions are no longer paused for tenants. Landlords must still follow the legal process for eviction. File a complaint, give tenant notice of the complaint with hearing date so the tenant can defend themselves in court. If tenant does not show, the landlord will likely win. If landlord wins, they have to wait 4 days to get a warrant of restitution and then schedule the eviction with the sheriff. For those in Baltimore City enacted what's called the COVID-19 Renters Relief Act that prohibits rent increases for existing tenants and prohibits late fees on late payments or non-payment of rent during the state of emergency and for 90 days after. Under Governor Hogan's executive order, tenants can defend themselves against a failure to pay rent matter by showing they suffered a substantial loss of income to COVID-19. They must go to court to prove this. This is only in effect during the state of emergency, which has been renewed monthly. And today is the 30th of September, so it may change tomorrow, but as far as I know, the state of emergency is still in place. There's also no guarantee that this will be renewed each month. The CDC has issued an eviction stay for tenants that's in place until December 31st of this year. It does not apply to all tenants, and it has been implemented differently in each county. It is strongly suggested that tenant consult Maryland Legal Aid or another attorney if they want to see if CDC eviction will stay, if the CDC eviction stay applies in their individual situation.
Can I ask a question? What is the CDC?
Oh, that's the Centers for Disease Control. So in order to limit the spread of COVID, President Trump had implemented this executive order a couple of weeks ago that basically said the CDC should find ways that tenants can remain in their homes so that, you know, they can prevent people being homeless or having to move in with family members that may serve to increase the spread of COVID. So this is just one of those actions that are meant to reduce the spread of COVID. And so it's a little bit, I won't say complicated, but there are certain things you have to do in order to qualify, and not everyone qualifies for this stay. So that's why it's important that, you know, if you think you may be eligible for this stay, you should give us, you know, you should contact us. And moving on to, for those who are homeowners, owners of a single family home with a mortgage that's issued, owned, or backed by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the VA, that's the Veterans Administration, USDA, or the Federal Housing Administration. There's a foreclosure moratorium that is in place until December 31st of this year. Again, there are several things that you have to do if you want to request a forbearance, or if you are experiencing financial hardship. I don't want to go into the details because it's a little bit, I wouldn't say complicated, but it needs me to explain for a few more minutes. So in the interest of time, if you're a homeowner and you have financial difficulties, please contact us and we'll be able to assist you. Very quickly, utilities, that's gas, electric, sewage disposal, telephone, water, cable, internet, those cannot be shut off during the state of emergency, and late fees cannot be charged. Nonetheless, utility payments are still due. So if you can afford it, you should pay it because you must still be responsible to make these payments. There are agencies that are available to help people who are having financial difficulties: the Office of Home Energy Programs, the Water Assistance Program, and two of those programs that may be able to assist you if you are having financial difficulties. Also, very quickly, for unemployment, anyone whose employment and income has been negatively affected by COVID-19 has been encouraged to apply. Any income must be reported. The eligibility is the same for what it used to be prior to COVID. The only difference is that those who are self-employed, those who are independent contractors, those who are gig workers like Uber drivers or Lyft drivers, those people can also apply now for unemployment. This is in place only through the end of this year. There are also extended benefits. Maryland benefits are usually 26 weeks. There is an additional 13 weeks of pandemic emergency unemployment compensation that is available. Maryland has begun offering another 13 weeks once these are exhausted for eligible claimants. So that's 26 weeks plus 13, plus an additional 13 if you qualify. An additional $300 is also available for some claimants for a limited period of time. Again, if you have any questions about any of what I just went over, please feel free to contact us. We are always available to help. And that should conclude my presentation.
Thank you so much, Koala. I appreciate all of the details that you provided. It was really great information. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I am going to speak a little bit about voting. So we heard about some education stuff that we were talking about, and we learned about your rights to know what you need to know for all the things that you have in your life, your bills, mortgage, rent, utilities, etc. But the most important thing that's coming up in the next few weeks is voting, and understanding and knowing what the deadlines are, how to go about doing this, and doing it in the safest manner possible. So bear with me one moment. I'm going to pull up my presentation. Alrighty, so here we are. Maryland votes. The deadline to register to vote is October 13th. It's also a deadline to make any changes or updates to your registration. So for example, if you've changed your name because you've gotten married, if you've changed your address, if you've changed anything in the past year or past 4 years, you need to make sure that your registration is up to date, or else it won't qualify for a vote or a mail-in ballot. Okay, we also have different ways that you can vote. So one of the ways that we can vote is to request a mail-in ballot, and that request must be received no later than October 20th. That request can be done online, by mail, or by fax, and you have to request it from the State Board of Elections or your local board. So you can Google that information, or you can go to the website that I'm going to add at the end so that you can find out who these local people are and how you can go about getting it. Once you receive your mail-in ballot, you must verify the information to make sure all of the information on there is correct, even down to the spelling of your name. If something is incorrect, it won't be counted. So you have to verify the information. You're going to complete it. You must sign it, because your signature verifies who you are, that this is what you are saying, and this is who you want to vote for. You have to seal it, and then you're going to send it. You're going to return your ballot to the U.S. Postal Office or any designated box locations, and those box locations will also be on the site that I'm providing at the end. Also, you can vote in person. It's recommended that you vote early. So early voting is available to avoid the crowding and the long lines, which does increase the risk of COVID. So one, where the lines are going to be socially distanced, so you're going to have to stand 6 feet apart online with a mask on. And you're also going to be asked to, avoid crowds. So if there's a long line, you're going to be asked to stand in another area until that line settles down. So you kind of want to take advantage of early voting if you really want to be voting in person. Early voting takes place over an 8-day period. It begins on Monday, October 26th through Monday, November 2nd, and it does include Saturdays and Sundays. So if you're working during the week, it does have some times on Saturday and Sundays where you can make it to the poll if you desire to do so. And they're usually open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And a list of those polling sites are going to be available on the website as well. Lastly, if you want to vote on November 3rd because you have an affinity to that date and you feel the need to be there on that day, which some people do, you can go to vote on election day. Again, it's going to be 6 feet apart. Masks are going to be enforced. The number of people inside and on the line is going to be limited. So that's another thing that I'm sure some people were not aware of. If there's too many people crowded in a specific area, they will ask you to move. So please be mindful and be compliant. But just know that because some people are choosing to do it on that day, there may be longer lines. The polls will open at 7 and will be open as late as 8 p.m. And here is the website, elections.maryland.gov. It has lots of valuable information and it takes you through everything step by step. It's a very, very user-friendly and easy website to look at. Voting is power, everyone. So please enforce your power by making sure that your voice is heard. Thank you guys so much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl for our closing prayer.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm going to quote from some of our speakers today. We need to be a people of change. We don't want to be overwhelmed. We want to support our parents and our children walking through this new world we are in with patience. We want to know our rights and and thank you so much for that, Koala, for all the detailed information, the support, the wraparound that we can be for one another, and when we know what we can do together, knowing your rights starts there. And last, with that ability to make your mark in the world, still with that vote and exercising that vote to be a person of change. So we're going to close with what we always do, our spiritual grounding. We are welcome to all faiths. Mine is Christian, so I'm going to close in a prayer. Let's bow our heads. We thank you for this moment with gratitude to approach change, to embrace it. We ask for your guidance and patience. We want to be whole people and healthy, and we ask for your presence with us to push us forward, to always be driving us all as human beings to be the best people we can be. And we ask for your presence in this. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And Michael, can you close us an exercise? Although Mr. James started us, so we should be warmed up.
I know, right? Right. Before we do that, gratitude. My dad always says, whatever you go through, you can decide to focus on the pain or you focus on what? The lesson that you learn from it. We are always grateful for something. Today, I've written down what I'm grateful for, and I'm going to put in the gratitude jar, and I encourage you to do that.
Wow.
Because one day we're going to read all that we are grateful for and see what's going on. So today, our exercise, I think we're tired of sitting jacks. Today, we're going to do something different.
Okay.
I was going to make us dance, but today is it's a long day, so I'm not going to make you dance. Next week, we'll dance. So let's do a jumping jack like this. 1, 2,
Oh.
4,
Okay.
5. Let's go. Join me, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and smile, and smile. Okay, Michelle, I like the way you're doing yours. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Michael.
Love you. Thank you.
James.
Thank you all
Mr.
so much.
James.
Be safe and please vote.